Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here. In today's video, I will be breaking down the Washington Commanders tight end room and giving you guys my outlook for them this season. I'll give you guys my predictions on who I think will make the roster and how they stack up against other tight end rooms in the NFL. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and the notification bell, and check out Man to Sleep. Link in the description. Use code HTTC. So the draft has passed, and we pretty much know what the Washington Commanders tight end room is going to be for now, in terms of who's on the 90-man roster, and that is Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner, Armani Rogers, and they don't have them listed here, but Curtis Hodges as well. That's kind of the group, and I am pre-recording this video. Recording on May 17th will be posted in the next 10 or so days. Going to be on vacation starting tonight, actually, so May 17th, so should be fun, but let's get back into it. So let's start off with overall thoughts in this group. I don't think this is a very strong group. It's led by Logan Thomas, who is getting up there in age, 31 years old, 6'6", 250 pounds, and last year had a lackluster year. 39 catches for 323 yards, and I want to see, I think he played most of the games. I think he was out for a couple. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Yeah, he missed a few games. So let's say he plays those 3 extra games. He probably gets close to 400 yards. So it was a little bit of a disappointing year, but again, he missed some of those games, and I think he came back a little bit too quick from his injury, and I don't think he was going to have a season like this. But let's say he was, fully healthy. I think he could have been, or let's say he had some more time to recover. I think it could have been more like 500. Still not like the 2020 Logan Thomas, but I don't think he's necessarily going to get there in terms of that production or that many targets, because he did get a ton of targets last year or in 2020. So I think it'll be a little bit between this year and this year. And honestly, I'm fine with that. If he can get us over 500 yards and be a good red zone threat like he was in 2020 and a good safety blanket for Sam Howell, I think that's a win. So I think he's going to make the roster. Unless Armani Rogers and Cole Turner look absolutely amazing, that's the only way I think he could not make it. And even then, I still think they probably want him on the roster as a veteran. Just have a veteran. So I think he'll probably go for like 520 and like 3 or 4 touchdowns. That's what you want him to be at. He wasn't really much of a red zone threat last year. And you look at in 2021, played 6 games, and some of those he was injured in. Like I think the Falcons game, he got injured early. So he really played like 5 games or 4.5 games, because he also got injured in that Raiders game, and he had 3 touchdowns. So he's a touchdown machine. Like in the red zone, you can get him the ball. You should be. That's what Eric Bieniemy should be trying to do. And it'll just be a matter of, if he's healthy, because the last few years it's been, a bunch of injuries. He had a hamstring injury in 2021, missed a lot of time, then came back and then got hurt in the second or first game. He was back with the ACL, which is really, really unfortunate. And then last year, dealing with a calf injury and some other injuries as well. So I think he'll make the roster, be the 10-1 for now, and get you around 500 yards and like 4 touchdowns. That's my prediction. Next guy is Cole Turner. The Commanders drafted him in the 5th round of the 2021 NFL Draft. 6'6", 23 years old, and about 240 pounds, a hybrid between wide receiver and tight end. And he had a disappointing rookie year. And that was probably because of injuries. But when I was there in training camp, he was balling out. I went 3 times, and I think he was only healthy for one of the times, and that was the first time I went. And he was probably the best offensive player there, either him or Dotson. He was that good, making a bunch of splash plays, and then has like a concussion or a calf injury, something like that. I think it was a calf injury, but it might have been a concussion. I think he had a concussion later on in the season, but had a calf injury, and that really, really set him back, because he didn't start playing until like week 4. So that was I think that really hurt him, and I think he could have had a solid year for the Commanders if he didn't have that injury. So this is a big offseason for him. Only ended up having 2 catches for 23 yards, and I believe that was the same game. Yeah, that was against the Bears. Had a pretty solid game there. First game was against the Titans, and he was open a ton, but Wentz just missed him. And then after that, really didn't play much, and when he did, he didn't get targets. He was okay as a blocker, though. I saw him, at least trying there, and I think this is a huge offseason for him, because I think he's going to make the roster, but I could see if he looks really bad and if he doesn't look like he did in the 2022 offseason, I could see him moving on from that early. because it's not like it's a third or second round pick. This is a fifth round pick, and it's a mid to late fifth round pick. So it's not a huge investment you put in him, and you have some potential other options you have. So I think he's going to make the roster, but he can't slack off this offseason. I'm not saying he did last year, because he looked really, really good when I was there. So if he has a good offseason, I think he has a chance to be a solid pass-catching threat for the Commanders as that second receiving option at the tight end position behind Logan Thomas. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Cole Turner. And then next, you got Armani Rogers, who made the roster last year as, was a quarterback in college, then a tight end, and he really did. He had some nice plays last year. And real quick, word from our sponsor. And huge shout out to Mantis Sleep for sponsoring this video. They make the best sleep masks in the world. They have a bunch of different types that can change temperatures, that can change the sound that you're listening to when you're going to bed and when you're waking up. I've been using it for the last month or so, and it's done wonders for my sleep. My sleep has improved drastically. I've been getting good quality sleep whenever I'm having a tough time sleeping. I just put the mask on and go to bed, and it's great. So check them out. Use code HTTC for 10% off. So back to Armani Rogers, was a quarterback at Ohio, 6'5", 225, 25 years old. It's a little bit up there in age in terms of, he's a second-year player. Had 5 catches for 64 yards. I believe he was out for a while last year. Yeah, so he played week 1 against the Jags, and I think he got hurt sometime, maybe week 1 or week 2. Then came back at some point in the middle of the year, had a couple games where he was doing something, and then after that, actually 3 games in a row, because he had 3 catches for 28 against the Packers and 1 for 13. Then he had one run for 24 yards, and yeah, so he definitely did some things in the middle of the season there. That 3-game stretch, not a ton, but was a little bit of a piece on the offense for a while. Yeah, started 3 games, had 5 catches, 64 yards. Was pretty good in the preseason as well. So this is another guy. Wasn't drafted, but has some potential there. Is learning the position. Is he going to be a star? Probably not, but he has a little bit of explosiveness to him. A 24-yard rush there, and had some nice, had a 23-yard catch against the Jaguars. So he has a little bit of potential. So it's a big offseason for him. It's going to be between him, Cole Turner, and Curtis Hodges. Like, who can really separate themselves from the group? Because we know, more likely than not, Logan Thomas is making the roster. John Bates is probably making the roster as a blocking tight end, but who knows? With Eric Bieniemy coming in, maybe he doesn't want him, but Armani Rogers needs to show something this offseason. I think he will, and I'm excited to see what he can do, because he's got potential for sure, because last year was his first year playing the position, so I'm interested to see year 2 playing the position. How much has he improved there? And yeah, I know a lot of fans really, really like him, so definitely intrigued to see what he can do. Next guy, John Bates. John Bates entering year 3, I believe. Yeah, 6'6", 260, out of Boise State last year. Had the most production by far out of any of these guys we've talked about besides Logan Thomas. He had, 14 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown, a big step down from his 2021 season where he had 20 catches for 249 yards and a touchdown. But Logan Thomas is out for almost all of the 21 season, and what's his name? Yeah, he was really the only tight end there, so he got more targets than he did, this past season. But was not. I also don't think he was as good of a blocker as he was in the 2021 season. Still a good blocker, so he's a guy that I think will make the roster, but it's a little bit of a fringe, situation here, because we don't know if Eric Bieniemy is gonna how he's gonna like John Bates as, a tight end, and maybe he wants to keep 4 tight ends. I think 4 is probably what you do, just because Logan Thomas, not a very good blocker. Last year was terrible as a blocker. Cole Turner, coming out of college, not a lot of people thought he could do much blocking. I thought he did a little bit better than most people thought he would, but still not known as a blocker, and Armani Rogers probably not. So honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I think John Bates makes the roster just because he's one of the only ones that can really block. So I think he'll make the roster based off that, because the other guys really cannot. So I think he'll make it, and then it'll be Logan Thomas, and that's 2, and the competition between Turner, Rogers and Curtis Hodges to see who makes the roster, whether they keep one of those guys or two of those guys. We'll see. But yeah, Bates, we know what he's going to do. Solid blocker. Occasionally can catch something. Offers really no yards after the catch, but gets you a few yards. Pretty solid hands. We did drop a couple last year, but overall, a solid player for us and got a nice touchdown. I can't remember who it was against. Let's see. They definitely have it here. It was a big one. I think it was Vikings or Eagles, something like that. Let's see where he had that touchdown. It was the Falcons, okay. But it was still a big touchdown. They needed that one to win that game. Next one on the list is Curtis Hodges. That's the last guy we're going to talk about. He's a unit. 6'8", 23 years old, 240 pounds, played at Arizona State. Did not play last year because he was placed on IR before the season started. And if that happens, or before the 90-man or the 53-man roster is finalized, if you do that, you're out for the year, and they put him on IR before that deadline. So he was out for the year, but apparently they really like him. That's what Kime and Logan Paulson have been saying. So he's competing with these guys. We really don't know how he's going to do, but I think we heard definitely more about Cole Turner last offseason and probably Armani Rogers than we did about Curtis Hodges. So he's definitely going to have to show something that he didn't do last year, and he'll also get to play in the preseason. And I think the preseason is going to be huge for these three guys in Hodges, Armani Rogers, and Cole Turner, because Cole Turner didn't really play in the preseason last year because of the injury. Rogers did. He thrived there, and that's why I made the roster. And then Hodges, now he's going to get to play too. So it's going to be this is one of the biggest battles in training camp is these three young tight ends. 23-year-old in Hodges, second-year guy. 25, second-year-old in Armani Rogers. And 23, second-year-old in Cole Turner. Second year in Cole Turner. So I think it's going to be a great competition between the three of these guys. I'm excited to see who makes it. My guess, I think Cole Turner and Armani Rogers make it over Hodges, but there's some buzz with Hodges. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace.